My beloved child, there is a reason you are here right now, listening to these words. You may have tried to scroll past this moment. You may have told yourself you would come back later, or that this message was not meant for you. Yet here you are. Something within you would not allow you to ignore it any longer. That quiet pull you feel, that gentle tension in your chest, that sense of being seen. This is not an accident. It is not chance. It is my voice reaching you through the noise, through the busyness, through the weariness you have learned to carry. You have been feeling it for some time now. A restlessness you cannot fully explain. A sense that something is unfinished, something unresolved. Even when you smile, even when you succeed, even when you distract yourself, there is a whisper deep within you that says there must be more than this. You tried to silence it. You told yourself you were just tired, or ungrateful, or overthinking. But the whisper did not leave because it was never meant to leave. It was meant to lead you here. My precious one, I know how many times you have ignored the quiet nudges of your heart. I know how often you told yourself you would deal with these feelings later, when life slowed down, when you felt stronger, when you had more answers. But later kept moving further away, and the weight inside you kept growing heavier. That is why this message feels different. That is why it feels like it has found you instead of the other way around. You are not being interrupted. You are being invited. Listen to me now. I am not here to accuse you. I am not here to pressure you or overwhelm you. I am here because I love you too deeply to leave you lost in confusion. I see the questions you ask when no one else is listening. I see the moments when you lie awake, staring into the dark, wondering why your heart feels tired even after rest. I see how you have learned to function while quietly aching. And I want you to know this. You are not broken, and you are not forgotten. You have sensed that something in your life needs attention, but you have been afraid to look at it too closely. Afraid of what it might cost you. Afraid of what it might change. Afraid that if you stop running, the emotions you buried will rise all at once. So you kept moving. You stayed busy. You stayed strong for everyone else. Yet your soul has been asking for a moment of truth, a moment of stillness where you finally let yourself hear what has been calling you. My dearest child, this message is not here to rush you, but it is here to awaken you. You cannot ignore this any longer because your heart is ready, even if your mind still feels unsure. You have reached a point where continuing to look away hurts more than facing what is real. That is not weakness. That is growth. That is the beginning of clarity. I want you to feel safe right now. Safe to listen. Safe to breathe. Safe to be honest with yourself. Nothing will be demanded of you in this moment except your attention. Stay with me. Let these words settle gently into you. Let the noise around you fade for just a little while. You are not late. You have not missed your moment. This is your moment. I have been waiting patiently for you to slow down enough to hear me. Not because I was far away, but because you were carrying so much that my voice felt distant. Now, as you listen, notice how something inside you softens. That is your soul recognizing truth. That is your spirit responding to love. You are here because this message was meant for you. And as we continue, you will begin to understand why ignoring it is no longer possible. My beloved child, I have been knocking on your heart far longer than you realize. Not with force, not with fear, but with patience and tenderness. In the quiet moments you tried to fill with noise, I was there. In the pauses you rushed past, I was there. In the sighs you released when no one was watching, I was there. Every gentle nudge, every moment of inner stirring, every sudden thought that told you to slow down or look deeper. That was me. You wondered why certain feelings kept returning, even after you told yourself you were fine. You questioned why memories resurfaced at unexpected times, or why certain questions would not leave you alone. My precious one, that was not weakness. That was awareness beginning to awaken. I was knocking softly, because love never breaks down doors. Love waits to be welcomed. There were days when you sensed me most clearly, and days when you felt nothing at all. You may have thought that meant I had stepped away, that you had done something wrong, or that you were failing to listen correctly. But hear me now. My presence does not depend on your awareness. Even when you felt numb, I was near. Even when you felt distracted, I was speaking. The knocking never stopped, only the noise around you grew louder. I know you have been tired. Not just physically, but deep within your soul. You have carried responsibilities that were never meant to rest solely on your shoulders. You have tried to be strong, to be dependable, to be everything others needed you to be. In doing so, you learned to ignore the gentle tapping within, telling yourself you would rest later, listen later, feel later. But your heart has grown weary of waiting. My child, I have not been disappointed in you. I have not been standing with crossed arms, counting how many times you delayed responding. I have been standing with open hands, ready to receive you the moment you turned toward me. Each knock was an invitation, not a demand. Each whisper was a reminder that you are deeply loved and never alone. Sometimes the knocking felt like discomfort, a sense that something was off, even when everything looked fine on the outside. Other times it felt like longing, a quiet desire for peace, clarity, or meaning you could not quite name. You tried to explain it away, to distract yourself, to keep moving forward without looking inward. Yet still, I knocked. Because what waits on the other side of your attention is not harm, but healing. I see how you hesitated. You were afraid that opening the door would unleash emotions you were not ready to face. Afraid that listening would require change you did not feel strong enough to make. Afraid that acknowledging the truth would mean admitting how tired you really are. But my beloved, I do not ask you to be strong alone. I ask you to be honest with me. When you ignored the knocking, I did not leave. I simply waited. I waited through your busy seasons and your quiet ones. I waited through your doubts and your attempts to convince yourself that everything was fine. I waited because love is patient and because your heart matters too much to rush. Even now, as you listen, I am knocking again. Not because you failed before, but because this moment is right. You are not the same person you were when you first felt the stirring. You have grown, even in ways you do not yet see. Your heart hath been softened by experience, your spirit shaped by endurance. You are more ready than you think. So do not be afraid of this awareness rising within you. Do not push it away. Let it be what it is, an invitation to rest, to listen, to reconnect. I am not calling you to chaos or confusion. I am calling you to clarity, to peace, to the safety of being fully known. You do not need to open the door all at once. You only need to stop pretending you do not hear the knock. I am here, my child, and I have always been here. My beloved child, do not turn away now. I say this not with urgency that frightens you, but with love that understands what is at stake. Something within you recognizes this moment as important, even if you cannot yet explain why. You may feel a gentle tension in your chest, a quiet alertness in your spirit. That is awareness awakening. Stay with me, because what is being revealed now is something your heart has been asking for, even in silence. You have spent so much of your life moving forward without stopping to ask what your soul needed. You learned to adapt, to endure, to keep going even when you felt empty. That endurance helped you survive, but it also taught you to ignore yourself. And now, as you listen, you are being invited to do something different. You are being invited to pause without guilt, to listen without rushing, to stay without escaping. This is not wasted time. This is sacred time. There is a temptation within you to pull away when things begin to feel real. You have done that before, not because you are careless, but because you were protecting yourself. When truth comes close, it can feel vulnerable. It can feel like standing in a quiet room where you can finally hear your own heartbeat. But I want you to know that nothing here is meant to harm you. Everything here is meant to heal you. Listen closely now. The restlessness you have felt is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a flaw in your character or a failure in your faith. It is a signal that you have outgrown a way of living that no longer fits who you are becoming. You have tried to silence it with distractions, with productivity, with strength. Yet it kept returning because it was never meant to be ignored. It was meant to guide you here. Do not rush past this moment the way you have rushed past so many others. You have told yourself before that you would come back to these feelings later, when life was calmer, when you had more answers. But later kept moving further away. Now is different. Now, you are listening. Now, you are present. And that alone is a powerful beginning. If you feel emotion rising, let it rise. If you feel resistance, let it exist without judgment. Resistance often appears when something true is touching a place that has been guarded. That does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are being honest. Stay with me through this honesty. You do not need to fix anything right now. You only need to remain. I want you to hear this clearly, my precious one. This message is not meant to be consumed quickly and forgotten. It is meant to be received fully. There is a reason I am asking you to continue listening until the end. Each word is part of a larger picture, a gentle unfolding that will help you understand yourself, your past, and the quiet calling you have felt for so long. Do not interrupt what is in the process of bringing you clarity. If these words are bringing a sense of calm, a feeling of being understood, acknowledge that peace. You may bless this message with a simple act of gratitude by liking it, not out of obligation, but as recognition that something meaningful is taking place within you. And if you know someone who hath been carrying silent questions, someone who feels tired without knowing why, share this message with them. You may be the answer they have been waiting for. My child, you are not meant to walk away halfway through a moment of awakening. You are not meant to leave before the reassurance arrives. Stay with me. Let this journey continue. If you desire to keep receiving words that strengthen and comfort you, you may choose to remain connected, so you are reminded that you are never alone. Do not turn away now. You are closer than you realize. What you have been seeking has already begun to meet you here, and if you stay, you will see why this moment matters so deeply. My beloved child, you feel this stirring because my word is knocking on hearts that have been ignored for too long. When you give in this moment, you are sowing light into souls who are still walking in shadow, and I promise you, no seed sown in faith ever falls to the ground unseen. I am speaking to you now because I have chosen you to help this message travel farther than your own screen. As it is written, I give seed to the sower, and I am placing seed in your hand right now. Do not ignore this prompting. Respond to it. Release your support through Super Thanks, membership, with a PayPal link in the description, or QR code, and let this word reach the ones who are still waiting to hear me. I bless your giving as holy obedience, and I command you, act now, and let my light multiply through your hands. My beloved child, hear me carefully now, because this truth needs to settle deeply within you. You are not broken. You never were. What you have been feeling is not damage, not failure, not something gone wrong inside you. It is a calling. It is an awakening. It is the sound of your soul stretching toward the light it was always meant to live in. I want you to release the idea that something is wrong with you, because that belief has weighed heavily on your heart for too long. You have looked at yourself through the lens of comparison and disappointment. You noticed where you struggled instead of where you endured. You focused on what felt delayed instead of what was developing. When things felt heavy inside, you assumed it meant you were weak or lacking. But I see what you could not see. I see growth happening beneath the surface. I see strength being formed quietly, patiently, without applause. What felt like breaking was often becoming. There were moments when you asked yourself why life felt harder for you than for others. You wondered why clarity seemed to come easily to some, while you wrestled with questions that had no immediate answers. You thought perhaps you were flawed, were behind, were missing something everyone else seemed to have. But my precious one, depth often develops in silence. Those who are called to see more must first feel more. That sensitivity you tried to suppress is not a curse. It is part of your design. I know you have tried to fix yourself. You tried to be more productive, more positive, more resilient. You tried to push through discomfort and label it strength. Yet no amount of striving brought the peace you were hoping for. That is because peace does not come from becoming someone else. It comes from returning to who you truly are. You were never meant to live disconnected from your inner truth. You are being called not because you are inadequate, but because you are ready. Ready to see yourself with honesty instead of hardness. Ready to stop measuring your worth by your performance. Ready to acknowledge the quiet longing that has followed you for years. That longing is not emptiness. It is direction. It is pointing you toward a deeper alignment with who you were created to be. There is nothing shameful about needing clarity. There is nothing weak about feeling overwhelmed by life's weight. You have been carrying responsibilities, expectations, and unspoken pain without rest. You smiled when you needed comfort. You kept going when you needed to pause. And still you showed up. Still, you endured. That is not brokenness. That is courage that has gone unseen. My child, the reason this message resonates is because your heart recognizes truth. Something within you knows that you are standing at the edge of change. Not a loud, dramatic change, but a meaningful one. A shift in how you see yourself. A softening where there was tension. An understanding where there was confusion. This is what calling often feels like at first. Not certainty, but invitation. I want you to stop asking what is wrong with you and start asking what is awakening within you. The questions you carry are not signs of failure. They are signs of depth. The sensitivity you feel is not something to overcome. It is something to honor. You are not behind. You are being prepared. As you listen, allow yourself to rest in this truth. You do not need to earn love. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to have everything figured out to be deeply valued. You are already seen, already known, already loved beyond measure. Nothing about you is a mistake. Say here with me, let this understanding replace the harsh narratives you have carried. You are not broken. You are being called into greater awareness, deeper peace, and truer alignment. And as this unfolds, you will begin to feel lighter, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. This is the beginning of gentleness toward your own soul, and you deserve that rest. My beloved child, I see what you have been carrying, even the weight you never found words for. I see the responsibilities you accepted quietly, the expectations you tried to meet without rest, and the emotions you learned to manage alone so others would not feel burdened by your pain. You have carried more than you ever admitted, and you have done it with a strength that often went unseen. But I have seen it all. Nothing about your struggle has escaped my notice. There were moments when you told yourself it was not that heavy, that you should be grateful that others had it worse. You minimized your own pain because you did not want to appear weak or needy. Yet pain does not vanish when it is dismissed. It settles deeper, becoming quieter but heavier, pressing on your spirit day after day. I know how tired you have been, not only in your body, but in the deepest part of who you are. You became strong because you felt you had to. You learned to keep going because stopping felt unsafe. You became the one others relied on, the one who listened, the one who held things together when life felt unstable. You gave comfort generously, but you rarely allowed yourself to receive it. You told yourself to endure, to push through, to be patient. But your heart has been longing for someone to notice how much effort that endurance required. My precious one, I see the nights when your thoughts would not quiet down. I see the moments when emotions rose unexpectedly and you did not know where they came from. I see how you questioned yourself, wondering why you felt so deeply, why certain words or situations stayed with you longer than they should have. You assumed it meant something was wrong with you, but it meant you were sensitive, perceptive, and human. You have carried disappointments that never fully healed, conversations that left marks you pretended did not matter, losses you were expected to move past quickly, situations that reshaped you in ways you never anticipated. You kept moving forward because that is what was required of you, but you were not always given the space to process what you went through. So you stored it inside, telling yourself you would deal with it later. That later became a weight you have been holding ever since. Hear me now, my child. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. The strength you showed was real, but it was not meant to replace rest. Endurance was never meant to become your identity. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are allowed to set down what has grown too heavy for you to hold by yourself. I am not asking you to relive every painful memory or to dissect every emotion. I am simply inviting you to acknowledge the truth. You have been carrying more than your share. There is no shame in admitting that. In fact, there is freedom in it. When you stop pretending the weight is light, you create space for healing to begin. I am not disappointed that you grew tired. I am compassionate toward it. I know why you held on as long as you did. I know why you tried to manage everything on your own. You were doing the best you could with what you had. But now, something different is being offered to you. A way of living that does not require constant self-sacrifice at the cost of your peace. As you listen, allow yourself to soften. You do not need to prove anything here. You do not need to explain your pain or justify your exhaustion. You do not need to be strong in this moment. You only need to be honest. I already know your heart, and I love you fully, not for what you carry, but for who you are. You have been seen. You have been known. And you do not have to carry everything by yourself anymore. This is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of your healing, and you are not walking into it alone. My beloved child, I want to speak to you now about something you have felt but rarely named. The quiet cost of ignoring what your heart has been trying to tell you. Not a cost filled with punishment or anger, but one that slowly drains your joy, your clarity, and your sense of peace. I do not speak of this to shame you. I speak of it because I love you, and because awareness is the doorway to freedom. When you ignore the gentle whispers within you, life does not immediately fall apart. Instead, something subtler happens. Colors begin to dull. Moments that once felt meaningful start to feel routine. You continue functioning, but you feel less alive. You go through the motions, yet something inside you feels distant, as if you are watching your own life from behind a glass wall. A distance did not come from failure. It came from postponing truth. You told yourself you would deal with it later. Later, when you were less tired. Later, when things were more stable. Later, when you had more clarity. But later became a pattern, and the longer you waited, the harder it felt to listen. Not because the whisper disappeared, but because you grew used to living without responding to it. And slowly, that created a numbness you could not explain. My precious one, numbness is not peace. It is the absence of connection. It is what happens when the heart learns to protect itself by staying quiet. You may have called it maturity or resilience, but deep down, you knew something was missing. You laughed, you worked, you achieved, yet you felt strangely disconnected from your own life. It was not because you were ungrateful. It was because a part of you was waiting to be acknowledged. Ignoring your inner truth does not make it go away. It only delays the healing it offers. Each time you dismissed that inner nudge, you taught yourself not to trust your own awareness. And over time, that created confusion. You began to doubt your feelings, your instincts, your needs. You wondered why decisions felt harder, why peace felt further away. It was not because you lacked wisdom. It was because you stopped listening to it. I want you to understand this clearly. You are not being punished for ignoring the whisper. You are simply experiencing the natural effect of disconnection. Just as a plant wilts when it is not watered, the soul grows weary when it is not tended. This is not condemnation. It is compassion. And the moment you begin to listen again, life starts to return. You may fear that acknowledging what you ignored will overwhelm you. You may think it will open emotions you cannot manage or changes you cannot control. But I am not asking you to face everything at once. I am asking you to notice what hath been costing you peace. The constant restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction, the feeling that something is always just out of reach. These are not flaws. They are signals. My child, the longer you ignore what matters, the heavier it feels to carry life. Tasks require more effort. Joy feels fleeting. Rest does not fully restore you. But when you begin to listen, even gently, something shifts. The weight lessens. Clarity begins to form. You feel more present, more honest, more alive. This is not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer divided within yourself. I am not here to accuse you of what you did not do. I am here to invite you into what is still possible. Nothing has been ruined. Nothing has been lost beyond repair. The cost you have felt is not permanent. It is reversible through awareness, honesty, and gentleness toward yourself. Stay with me in this understanding. Let it settle without fear. You are not behind. You are awakening. And the moment you choose to listen, even now, the quiet distance you felt will begin to close. You are being led back to yourself, and that path always leads toward peace. My beloved child, I want you to hear this with your whole heart now. You were never meant to walk alone. Even in the seasons when you felt isolated, misunderstood, or emotionally distant from others, you were not abandoned. The loneliness you experienced was not proof that you were forgotten. It was proof that your heart was longing for deeper connection, the kind that does not fade when circumstances change. You have often felt like no one truly understood the weight you carried. You may have been surrounded by people, yet still felt unseen. Conversations stayed on the surface while your inner world grew more complex. You learned how to smile, how to respond, how to keep going, even when you felt detached inside. The kind of loneliness is heavy, and I know how quietly it can shape the way you see yourself and the world. But listen to me now. You were never walking those paths by yourself. Even when you felt unheard, I was listening. Even when you felt unseen, I was watching over you with care. Even when you felt unsupported, I was steady beside you. My presence did not depend on your awareness of it. I remained, faithful and near, through every step you took. You may have thought that strength meant handling everything on your own. You may have believed that asking for help was a burden to others or a sign of weakness. So you learned to rely on yourself, to carry your own worries, to solve your own problems in silence. Over time, that independence turned into isolation. Not because you wanted it, but because you did not know another way to survive. My precious one, independence can protect you, but it cannot comfort you. Self-reliance can move you forward, but it cannot heal your heart. You were created for connection, for companionship, for shared burdens. That is why walking alone has felt so exhausting. Not because you are incapable, but because you were never meant to do everything by yourself. There were moments when you wished someone would ask how you were really doing. Moments when you hoped someone would notice the signs you tried to hide. Moments when you longed to be supported instead of always being the supporter. Those desires were not selfish. They were honest. They revealed a truth you tried to ignore. You needed care too. I want you to know that you do not have to earn companionship. You do not have to prove your worth to be supported. You do not have to be perfect to be loved. You are allowed to lean. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to admit that some days feel heavy. There is no shame in needing others, just as there is no shame in needing me. Even now, as you listen, you are not alone. These words are not empty sounds. They are a reminder of presence, a reminder that you are being walked with, guided, and held in ways you may not always feel, but can always trust. I walk with you through confusion, through uncertainty, through change. I do not rush ahead and leave you behind, and I do not lag behind and lose sight of you. I walk beside you, step by step. You may not see the entire path yet. That is okay. You only need to know that you do not walk it by yourself. When the road feels unclear, I am clarity. When your strength feels small, I am support. When your heart feels tired, I am rest. You do not have to carry every question alone. You do not have to face every fear alone. Let this truth settle into you. You were never meant to walk alone, and you never have been. Even in the moments you felt most distant, I was near, quietly guiding you forward. And as you continue, you will begin to notice that companionship again, not only around you, but within you. You are held. You are accompanied. And you are not walking this journey by yourself anymore. My beloved child, I want to speak gently into a place that has carried quiet regret for longer than you admit. Your past is not blocking your future. It never had the power you feared it held. The moments you wish you could rewrite, the choices you questioned late at night, the seasons you barely survived but never fully processed. None of them disqualified you from what still awaits you. They shaped you, yes, but they did not define the limits of your life. You have looked back more times than you let anyone see. sometimes with sadness, sometimes with frustration, sometimes with a deep ache that rises without warning. You replay conversations, decisions, and crossroads, wondering how different things might be if you had known then what you know now. You tell yourself you should be further along, more certain, more healed. And each time you do, you quietly place another weight on your own heart. But listen to me carefully now. You did not fail your future by surviving your past. You did not ruin what was ahead because you struggled where you were. Every step you took, even the uncertain ones, taught you something essential about yourself. Every loss refined your values. Every mistake carved wisdom into you that comfort alone never could. Nothing you lived through was wasted, even when it felt unbearable. You may believe that your past slowed you down, that it made you hesitant, cautious, or afraid to fully trust life again. And yes, it changed you. But it also deepened you. It taught you discernment. It gave you compassion for pain you once did not understand. It strengthened parts of you that could only grow under pressure. Those changes are not flaws. They are foundations. My precious one, the future you fear missing is not running away from you. It is waiting for you to stop punishing yourself for who you once were. Growth does not require erasing your history. It requires understanding it. And understanding never comes through harsh judgment. It comes through gentleness. When you stop fighting your past, it loses its power to wound you in the present. You were never meant to live as someone untouched by pain. You were meant to live as someone transformed by it. The scars you carry are not signs of failure. They are proof that you endured what once felt impossible. They tell the story of resilience, even when you did not feel strong. And if you endured that season, there is more courage within you than you realize. I know you sometimes worry that your past has made you unworthy of peace, clarity, or joy. That belief has quietly shaped how you see yourself. But hear me now. Worthiness was never based on perfection. It was never something you had to earn back. You were always worthy of healing, even when you were hurting. Always worthy of love, even when you were learning how to give it to yourself. Do not allow old versions of you to decide what is possible now. You are not the same person who made those choices, who felt that lost, who carried that level of confusion. You have grown in ways that may not be obvious, but they are real. Your awareness has expanded. Your heart has softened. Your understanding has matured. You are not starting over. You are continuing forward with greater wisdom than before. As you listen, imagine loosening the grip you have held on your past. Not denying it, not erasing it, but releasing the belief that it defines you. It does not. Your future is shaped by what you choose to carry forward, not by what you leave behind. And you are allowed to leave behind guilt, shame, and the habit of blaming yourself for doing the best you could with what you knew then. You are not bucked. You are not disqualified. You are not delayed beyond restoration. You are exactly where growth has brought you. From this place, new clarity can rise. New peace can take root. A new direction can unfold without fear. Your past is not standing in your way. It is standing behind you, reminding you of how far you have already come and how much strength you carry into what comes next. My beloved child, the restlessness you have been feeling has a purpose. It is not here to torment you or steal your peace. It is here to guide you. You have tried to label it as dissatisfaction, impatience, or weakness, but it is none of those things. It is awareness stirring, gently but persistently, reminding you that you were not created to live disconnected from what is true within you. You noticed it in quiet moments, when the noise faded and distractions no longer worked. A subtle feeling that something needed attention. Not something dramatic, not a loud command, but a steady inner movement that refused to be ignored. You tried to explain it away. You told yourself it would pass. Yet it returned again and again, because it carried meaning. Restlessness is not always a sign that something is wrong. Often, it is a sign that something is ready to grow. Just as the earth shifts before new life emerges, your spirit had been shifting in preparation for clarity. What you feel is not chaos. It is transition. And transition can feel uncomfortable when you do not yet see where it is leading. You may have thought that peace meant never feeling unsettled. But true peace does not come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from listening to what discomfort is asking you to notice. The unease you feel is not asking you to run. It is asking you to pay attention. It is asking you to be honest about what no longer fits and what is quietly calling you forward. You have stayed in familiar patterns longer than they served you, not because you lacked courage, but because familiarity felt safe. You learned how to function within what you knew, even when it felt limiting. And now, something inside you is gently pushing against those boundaries. That push is not rebellion. It is growth. My precious one, restlessness often appears when your outer life no longer matches your inner truth. When what you are doing no longer reflects who you are becoming, your spirit begins to signal the mismatch. That signal is not meant to shame you. It is meant to realign you. It is a compass, not a verdict. You may fear that listening to this restlessness will require changes you are not ready to make. You may worry it will disrupt stability or challenge expectations placed upon you. But ignoring it has already been costing you energy, joy, and presence. The longer you resist what is stirring, the heavier it feels to keep moving forward without clarity. I want you to understand this deeply. You do not need to have all the answers before you listen. You do not need a full plan before you acknowledge what is stirring inside you. You only need the willingness to be honest. Honesty is the doorway through which peace begins to return. This restlessness is not demanding immediate action. It is inviting gentle awareness. It is asking you to check in with yourself, to notice where you have been shrinking, settling, or silencing parts of who you are. It is calling you to live with greater integrity between your inner world and your outer life. You are not failing because you feel unsettled. You are awakening. And awakening rarely feels calm at first. It feels like questions rising, like old assumptions loosening, like a quiet insistence that there is more alignment available to you. That insistence is not pressure. It is possibility. As you sit with this understanding, allow yourself to be curious instead of critical. Ask what your restlessness is pointing toward, not what it is trying to take away. It may be leading you toward rest, toward truth, toward change, or simply toward deeper self-respect. Whatever it is, it carries care, not harm. Stay present with this feeling. Do not rush to silence it. Let it speak without fear. You are not being pulled apart. You are being drawn forward. And as you continue to listen, what once felt like unease will begin to transform into clarity, direction, and a quieter, steadier peace that knows where it is going. My beloved child, stay with me now, because you are standing at a turning point you have been approaching for longer than you realize. What you have been hearing is not meant to stir your heart and then leave you unchanged. It is meant to bring you into clarity, into alignment, into a deeper understanding of yourself and of my presence with you. I know you may feel the urge to pause, to step away, to return later when life feels quieter. But listen closely, because this moment carries meaning you have been asking for. There are times when clarity does not arrive with noise or force. It comes gently, asking for your attention rather than demanding it. This is one of those moments. Something within you is shifting, even if you cannot yet describe it. You feel it as a subtle awareness, a sense that you are beginning to see things differently. That shift is not confusion. It is freedom beginning to unfold. You have spent a long time searching outside yourself for answers, hoping that something would finally explain the unease you carried. Yet the answers you seek do not begin with more effort. They begin with listening. Listening to the quiet truth rising within you. Listening to the understanding that has been forming slowly, patiently, beneath the surface of your life. When you allow yourself to listen fully, you begin to recognize what has been guiding you all along. My precious one, do not underestimate the importance of staying present right now. Too often, you moved on just before understanding arrived. You distracted yourself when insight was forming. You rushed forward when reflection was needed. But now, you are being invited to remain, not out of obligation but out of care for your own heart. Stay, because the peace you are longing for is not found in escaping this moment, but in allowing it to complete its work within you. What comes next will help you understand why certain patterns repeated in your life. It will help you see why certain emotions lingered, and why your heart could not settle where you were. This is not about blame or regret. It is about recognition. And recognition opens the door to change that feels gentle instead of forced, natural instead of overwhelming. Listen carefully now. There is a reason I am asking you to stay until the very end of this journey. This message is not meant to be taken in pieces. It is meant to be experienced as a whole. You would not leave a conversation that was finally helping you feel seen. You would not walk away in the middle of healing. So do not step away now, when clarity is closer than you think. If these words are bringing calm to your spirit, if you feel a sense of being understood or less alone, acknowledge that peace. You may bless this message with a simple act of gratitude by liking it, not out of duty, but as recognition that something meaningful is taking place within you. And if someone you care about has been feeling restless, confused, or quietly weary, share this message with them. You may be offering them the same reassurance you are receiving right now. My child, this moment matters more than you know. What you are doing by staying is honoring your own awakening. You are choosing not to rush past yourself again. You are choosing to listen where you once avoided listening. That choice is powerful, even if it feels small. It is a step toward alignment, toward peace, toward living with greater honesty and gentleness. If you desire to continue receiving words that ground you, comfort you, and remind you that you are not alone, you may choose to remain connected. There is no pressure in that invitation, only support. You were never meant to navigate these moments of awakening without reassurance along the way. Stay with me now. You are on the edge of understanding that will change how you see your past, how you stand in your present, and how you move forward. Do not step away from this turning point. You are exactly where you need to be, and what you have been waiting for is unfolding right here, as you listen. My precious one, you stayed because something within you knows this is a turning point, and now I invite you to respond. When you give, you become a river, carrying my voice into dry places where hearts are desperate for living water. I am saying to you, just as I declared in my word, that those who sow generously will reap in abundance, and this is your moment to sow. This is not about supporting a channel. This is about fueling a fire that wakes souls. Do not delay what I am asking you to do. Use Super Thanks, membership, with the PayPal link in the description or QR code, and let your obedience unlock harvest in others. I speak blessing over what you release, and I command you now, move in faith and let this message go forth. My beloved child, I want you to hear this truth settle gently into your heart. You are not too late. Not late to understanding, not late to healing, not late to becoming who you were always meant to be. The fear that whispers otherwise has lingered with you for too long, quietly convincing you that time has passed you by. But time does not rule over what is meant for you. I do. You have measured your life against milestones that were never designed for your journey. You looked at where others seemed to be and wondered why your path unfolded more slowly, more quietly, more painfully. You told yourself that if you had only realized certain things earlier, chosen differently, acted sooner, life would feel more settled by now. And each time you thought that way, you felt a heaviness grow inside you, as if you were always trying to catch up to something already gone. But listen to me now. Nothing that belongs to you can miss you. Nothing that is meant to unfold in your life has slipped past while you were learning, surviving, or healing. You were not wandering aimlessly. You were being shaped. What felt like delay was often preparation. What felt like lost time was often deepening time. You needed those seasons you now question. You needed the uncertainty to teach you humility. You needed the waiting to teach you patience. You needed the discomfort to teach you discernment. If things had moved faster, you might have arrived without the strength or awareness you now carry, and then the weight would have been too much to hold. My precious one, you are not behind schedule. You are on a path that required depth before direction. Many reach places quickly but cannot sustain what they reach. You were being given roots before growth, understanding before clarity, compassion before confidence. That kind of formation cannot be rushed. I know you sometimes grieve the years you feel you lost. You look back and wonder why it took so long to understand certain truths, to recognize certain patterns, to value yourself the way you do now. But regret is often just wisdom arriving later than you expected. It does not mean you failed. It means you learned. Hear this clearly. I am not bound by your timeline. I am not limited by your age, your past, or your perceived delays. I do not look at your life and see wasted years. I see endurance. I see growth that happened quietly. I see resilience built through storms you never thought you would survive. And I see that you are more ready now than you would have been before. There is a reason clarity is arriving now and not earlier. Your heart is softer. Your awareness is deeper. Your compassion is wider. You are less driven by proving and more open to truth. That is not lateness. That is maturity. My child, do not let the fear of being behind steal the peace of being present. You are here now. You are listening now. You are aware now. That is what matters. This moment is alive with possibility, not regret. And from this moment forward, things can unfold with greater ease because you are no longer fighting yourself. I want you to release the belief that you must rush to make up for lost time. Healing does not require haste. Growth does not demand panic. What unfolds next will do so at the pace of alignment, not anxiety. You are allowed to move forward without punishing yourself for the past. You are not late to purpose. You are not late to peace. You are not late to joy. You arrived at this understanding exactly when your heart was ready to receive it. And that timing is not a mistake. It is care. Stay with this truth. Let it quiet the voice that tells you you missed your chance. You did not. Your path is still open. Your future is still responsive to your choices. And what is meant to grow in your life will grow from where you are now. You are not too late. You are right on time for the life that is beginning to unfold within you. My beloved child, there is something important I want you to understand about the quiet seasons of your life. You were never empty, even when they felt painfully still to you. While you questioned your progress and wondered if anything meaningful was happening, I was preparing you in ways that could not yet be seen. While you feared you were standing still, growth was taking place beneath the surface, steady and deliberate. The silence you experienced was not neglect. It was careful formation. You often believed that preparation would feel purposeful, structured, and clear. You thought it would arrive with signs, confirmations, and visible movement. Instead, it felt slow, confusing, and at times deeply frustrating. You expected direction, but you were given waiting. You expected answers, but you were given endurance. And because of that, you assumed you were falling behind. But preparation rarely feels productive while it is happening. My precious one, I was strengthening your inner world while your outer world seemed unchanged. I was teaching you discernment while you thought you were simply uncertain. I was expanding your compassion while you believed you were just hurting. I was building resilience while you wondered why life felt heavier than it should. Nothing about those seasons was accidental. Nothing was wasted, even when you could not see the purpose. You learned how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. You learned how to observe your emotions without being ruled by them. You learned how to remain tender in a world that often rewards hardness. These lessons were not easy, and they could not have been taught quickly. They required time, repetition, and patience you did not know you had. That patience is now part of who you are. There were moments when you compared your quiet life to the visible progress of others. You saw milestones being reached, goals being achieved, paths being clearly defined, and you wondered why yours felt so undefined. You questioned whether clarity should have come sooner if you were truly growing. But clarity without depth often collapses under pressure. You were being given depth first, so that when clarity arrived, it would last. I know there were times when the silence made you question whether you were forgotten. You wondered if you had misunderstood your purpose or missed something important along the way. But silence was never abandonment. It was space being created. Space for wisdom to settle. Space for self-awareness to grow. Space for you to recognize truth when it finally arrived. My child, preparation often feels like waiting because waiting builds capacity. It stretches your ability to trust without immediate reassurance. It strengthens your ability to remain grounded when answers are delayed. It teaches you how to keep going without constant validation. These qualities are not formed quickly, and they cannot be skipped. They are the foundation that allows you to move forward without fear. Now you are beginning to see why certain things did not happen sooner. You are recognizing that you needed inner stability before outward movement. You needed gentleness toward yourself before responsibility could be placed in your hands. You needed awareness before direction. What once felt like delay is now revealing itself as protection and care. I was preparing you quietly so that when clarity arrived, it would not overwhelm you. So that when opportunity appeared, you would recognize it without panic. So that when your path opened, you would walk it with humility instead of pressure. You are stronger now, not because life became easier, but because you became deeper and more grounded. As you listen, allow yourself to honor those quiet seasons instead of dismissing them. Stop calling them wasted. Stop seeing them as lost time. They shaped your character, softened your heart, and taught you how to listen. They prepared you to move forward with wisdom instead of urgency. You are not stepping into what comes next unprepared. You are stepping into it carrying insight, resilience, and understanding that will support you along the way. Nothing about your journey has been random. Everything has been forming you patiently and intentionally. Trust what has been growing within you. The preparation has done its work, and when the next step comes, you will recognize it not by force or fear, but by the quiet peace that tells you you are ready. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about a voice that has often sounded louder than truth in your life. It is the voice of fear. Not always sharp or dramatic, but subtle, persistent, and convincing. It did not shout at you. It whispered and questioned. It suggested caution when courage was needed and delay when movement was possible. And over time, you began to confuse that voice with wisdom. Fear learned how to speak using your past experiences. It reminded you of moments when things did not go as planned. It replayed memories of disappointment, rejection, or loss. It told you that being careful was the same as being safe. And because you wanted to protect yourself, you listened. You believed that fear was keeping you from harm, when in reality, it was often keeping you from truth. My precious one, fear is not always loud panic. Sometimes it appears as overthinking. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic, patience, or responsibility. It says, not now, not yet, what if it goes wrong? And because those questions sound reasonable, you allowed them to guide your decisions. Slowly, fear began to shape the limits of your life. You felt it when you wanted to speak honestly, but chose silence instead. You felt it when you sensed change was needed but stayed where you were because it felt familiar. You felt it when your heart leaned forward, but your mind pulled you back. Fear told you that staying still was safer than risking disappointment again. And for a while, that seemed true. But hear me now. Fear may protect you from pain in the short term, but it also blocks growth in the long term. It narrows your vision. It convinces you that the unknown is more dangerous than the discomfort you already know. And when fear leads for too long, it creates a life that feels smaller than it should. Truth has been speaking to you as well, but its voice is quieter. It invites you. It speaks through peace, through inner alignment, through the feeling of being honest with yourself. Truth tells you when something no longer fits, even if it once did. Truth reminds you of who you are becoming, not who you used to be. You may have struggled to hear truth clearly because fear kept interrupting. Fear demanded certainty before movement. Truth only asked for trust. Fear wanted guarantees. Truth offered guidance one step at a time. And because fear promised control, you listened to it more closely. My child, I do not condemn you for that. You were trying to survive. You were trying to protect your heart. But now, survival is no longer enough. You are being invited into a fuller life, one guided by trust instead of constant caution. And that requires learning to recognize which voice you are listening to. Fear tightens you. It makes your chest heavy and your thoughts restless. Truth steadies you. It brings clarity, even when the path is not fully visible. Fear focuses on what might go wrong. Truth focuses on what aligns with who you are. One contracts you. The other expands you. I want you to begin noticing how different voices feel inside you. When a thought brings peace alongside challenge, it is not fear. When a thought keeps you stuck, small or ashamed, it is not truth. You do not need to argue with fear. You only need to stop letting it lead. You are not being asked to leap blindly or ignore wisdom. You are being asked to trust the quiet knowing that has been forming within you. That knowing has survived fear, doubt, and delay. It is still there, waiting for your attention. As you listen now, let truth become louder than fear. Let honesty rise above hesitation. Let peace have more authority than anxiety. This does not mean fear will disappear overnight. It means it no longer gets the final word. You are allowed to move forward even while fear whispers. You are allowed to choose alignment over avoidance. And as you do, you will discover that truth has been patient with you all along. Fear may have spoken loudly before, but it does not define you. Truth is still here, steady and clear, ready to guide you into the life that fits who you are becoming. My beloved child, come closer now and let me speak to the place where you have been holding everything together by yourself. I know how heavy it has felt. I know how often you told yourself to just endure a little longer, to be strong one more day, to carry what needed carrying because no one else could. You learned how to manage the weight, but you were never meant to live under it. And now I am inviting you to do something gentle and brave at the same time. Let me carry what you can no longer hold. You have been trying to be responsible for outcomes that were never fully in your control. You have carried emotional burdens that did not originate with you. You have taken ownership of situations, relationships, and expectations that quietly drained your strength. You did not do this because you were foolish. You did it because you cared. But care without rest eventually becomes exhaustion. My precious one, I see how tired you are beneath the surface. Not the tiredness that sleep fixes, but the weariness that comes from always being the one who holds things together. You have been carrying worry like a constant companion. You have carried regret, responsibility, and unspoken pressure, telling yourself that letting go would mean letting others down. But hear me now. Releasing what is too heavy for you does not make you unreliable. It makes you human. You may not even remember when you picked up some of these burdens. They accumulated slowly, one expectation at a time, one unprocessed emotion at a time, one moment where you chose to hold it in instead of letting it out. Over time, what you carried became part of how you identified yourself. You told yourself that this is just how life is. Heavy, demanding, unrelenting. But that was never the design. I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am asking you to stop carrying what was never yours alone to bear. There is a difference. You can care deeply without crushing yourself under the weight of everything. You can be present without being consumed. You can love without losing yourself in the process. Letting me carry what you cannot does not require dramatic gestures or perfect faith. It begins with honesty. It begins with admitting that you are tired, that you have reached your limit, that you do not know how to fix everything, and you should not have to. That admission is not failure. It is wisdom. My child, when you try to carry everything alone, your heart stays in a constant state of tension. Your thoughts race. Your body stays braced, as if something is always about to go wrong. But when you allow yourself to release even a portion of that weight, something softens. Your breathing slows. Your mind quiets. You begin to feel present again. That is not weakness leaving you. That is peace returning. I am not disappointed that you reached this point. I am not surprised by your exhaustion. I have been waiting for this moment, not to correct you, but to support you. To remind you that you were never meant to prove your strength by suffering in silence. You were meant to be sustained. As you listen, imagine placing down what feels heaviest right now. Not forever. Just for this moment. You do not need to solve it. You do not need to understand it fully. You only need to stop gripping it so tightly. Let it rest outside of you. Let your shoulders drop. Let your heart breathe. You do not lose control by releasing what you cannot carry. You gain clarity. You gain space. You gain the ability to respond instead of react. Life does not become careless when you let go. It becomes lighter. My beloved child, I am not asking you to be strong right now. I am asking you to be open. Open to rest. Open to support. Open to the truth that you are allowed to be held as well. You have carried enough for a long time. Let me carry what you cannot. Not because you failed, but because you were never meant to do this alone. And as you begin to release the weight, you will discover that there is still strength within you, but it is no longer strain. It is steadied by peace. My beloved child, something gentle is beginning to take shape within you, even if you cannot yet put words to it. You may still feel uncertain, still feel as though some things are unclear, but clarity is not absent. It is for me, like light at the edge of dawn. It does not arrive all at once. It grows slowly, softly, until you suddenly realize you can see farther than before. This is not confusion you are feeling. It is transition. You have been uncomfortable with not knowing. You wanted answers that felt solid and final. You wanted direction that removed doubt completely. And because clarity did not come that way, you assumed it was missing. But clarity often arrives in layers, not conclusions. It meets you where you are and then grows with you as you move forward. My precious one, you are being drawn into understanding, not pushed into it. There is a difference. When clarity is forced, it overwhelms. When it is invited, it steadies you. That is why your path has unfolded slowly. You are learning how to trust each step instead of demanding the entire map. That trust is part of the clarity itself. You may have noticed small shifts already. The way certain choices feel heavier than they used to. The way some paths no longer excite you, even if they once did. The way your inner voice has become more honest, less willing to pretend. These are not signs of loss. They are signs of alignment. They are your inner world reorganizing itself around truth. I know you sometimes worry that if you do not act quickly, you will miss something important. But clarity does not rush. It waits until your heart is ready to receive it without fear. You are not being tested by this process. You are being guided through it with care. My child, clarity does not always answer every question. Sometimes it simply shows you the next honest step. That is enough. You do not need certainty about the entire future. You need trust in the direction that feels peaceful, even if it is unfamiliar. Peace is one of the clearest signals I give you. You have been tempted to second-guess yourself when clarity did not look dramatic. You expected it to feel like certainty without hesitation. Instead, it feels like a quiet knowing that grows stronger the more you honor it. That is how truth often works. It does not shout. It waits for you to listen. There is nothing wrong with taking your time here. You are not delaying your life by moving gently. You are ensuring that when you do move, you do so with integrity. The clarity forming within you is not meant to push you into action before you are ready. It is meant to help you move without inner conflict. As you listen now, allow yourself to trust the process unfolding inside you. You do not need to rush ahead to prove anything. You do not need to force decisions to feel productive. Being present with what is becoming clear is already progress. Awareness itself is movement. You are learning to recognize what aligns with who you are now, not who you were expected to be. That recognition may require letting go of old identities, old expectations, or old definitions of success. That can feel unsettling, but it is also freeing. Clarity often asks you to release what no longer fits before it shows you what does. My beloved child, you are not lost in uncertainty. You are being drawn into truth with patience and care. Each moment of honesty, Each moment of listening, each moment of choosing peace over pressure brings you closer to a life that feels whole. Let yourself be where you are without judgment. Let clarity continue to form without demanding it hurry. You will know when the next step is ready, not because you feel rushed, but because it feels steady. And when that moment comes, you will move forward not in fear, but in alignment with who you have become. You are not waiting for clarity. You are walking into it. My beloved child, I want to speak to the quiet ache you carried during seasons when you felt unheard. There were moments when you waited for reassurance, for direction, for a sense that you were not alone, and all you encountered was silence. That silence made you question many things. You wondered if you had done something wrong, if you had failed to listen properly, or if you had been forgotten altogether. But hear me now with your whole heart. The silence was never abandonment. You expected presence to feel loud, obvious, and constant. You thought guidance would always arrive as clear words, immediate answers, or strong emotions. And when it did not, you assumed absence. But silence does not mean distance. Often, it means closeness so deep that words are no longer needed. It means space was being created for you to grow into awareness instead of relying on constant reassurance. During those quiet seasons, you learned how to stand without leaning on certainty. You learned how to breathe without answers. You learned how to keep going even when encouragement was not immediate. Those moments stretched you in ways comfort never could. You did not feel strong then, but strength was forming quietly within you. My precious one, I know how unsettling it felt to pray and hear nothing in return, to seek clarity and find stillness instead. You told yourself that silence meant delay or disapproval. But silence was never rejection. It was trust. I trusted that you could endure the quiet without losing your heart. I trusted that you could grow without being rushed. And you did. Silence allowed you to notice your own thoughts more clearly. It revealed patterns you have been avoiding. It showed you what you were relying on besides truth. In the absence of noise, you began to hear yourself. That awareness was not meant to isolate you. It was meant to prepare you. You may not have realized it at the time, but silence taught you discernment. It taught you to recognize which voices were yours and which were born of fear. It taught you to listen more deeply, not just outwardly, but inwardly. When everything around you grew quiet, what remained was what mattered most. I want you to understand this deeply. I do not withdraw when you struggle. I do not disappear when you question. I do not leave when you feel uncertain. My presence does not fluctuate based on your feelings. It remains steady, even when you cannot sense it. Silence is not absence. It is presence expressed differently. There were lessons that could only be learned in stillness. Trust that does not depend on constant confirmation. Patience that does not collapse under delay. Faith that remains even when emotion fades. These are not small things. They are the foundations of inner peace. My child, you are now beginning to understand why those silent seasons mattered. You are recognizing that you emerged from them with greater self-awareness, deeper compassion, and a quieter strength. You no longer need noise to validate your direction. You no longer need urgency to feel purposeful. That is growth. As you listen now, I want you to release the belief that silence meant you were alone. It did not. I was with you in every quiet moment, guiding you gently, allowing you to grow without interference. I was close enough to trust you with the stillness. You are not behind because things were quiet. You were being shaped in ways that noise could not accomplish. And now, as clarity returns, it rests on a foundation built in silence, not urgency. Let this truth bring you peace. You were never abandoned. You were never forgotten. You were never left to figure things out alone. The silence was not absence. It was preparation wrapped in stillness, guiding you toward the grounded, aware, and steady person you are becoming. And now, you are ready to hear again, not because I returned, but because you have learned how to listen. My beloved child, do not stop listening now. I speak this with gentleness, not urgency, but with a deep knowing of what this moment holds for you. You have been guided here step by step, layer by layer, not by accident and not without purpose. Something within you already senses that you are standing near a moment of recognition, one that brings understanding instead of confusion, peace instead of tension. Stay with me, because what is unfolding now will help you see your life with clearer, kinder eyes. You may feel a quiet urge to pause, to step away, to tell yourself you will return later when you feel more ready. But readiness is not something you wait for outside of the moment. It is something that forms because you remain, because you choose to listen even when it feels tender, because you allow truth to reach places you once guarded. This is one of those moments where staying gently reshapes you from the inside. Notice how something in you has already begun to soften. Notice how certain truths no longer feel threatening, but relieving. Confusion is slowly giving way to understanding, and heaviness is beginning to loosen its grip. This is not coincidence. This is the result of allowing yourself to listen without running, to stay present without demanding certainty. And if you continue, you will begin to view your past, your struggles, and even your fears through compassion rather than judgment. Listen closely now, my precious one. There are realizations ahead that will help you release burdens you assumed you had to carry forever. There is reassurance forming that will quiet fears you have lived with for longer than you admit. But these gifts do not arrive through rushing or skimming the surface. They arrive through presence, through allowing the message to complete its work within you. Do not interrupt your own healing by leaving too soon. You have spent much of your life pushing forward, even when your heart asks you to pause. You learned to move on quickly, to stay functional, to avoid lingering too long in what felt uncertain. But clarity does not always meet those who rush. It meets those who remain. And right now, remaining is an act of trust in yourself and in the process unfolding within you. I want you to understand this clearly. This is not just something to hear. It is something to experience fully. You would not walk away from a conversation that finally makes you feel understood. You would not abandon clarity just as it begins to form. So I invite you, gently and lovingly, to stay until the very end of this journey. What waits there is not pressure or demand. It is peace. If these words are touching something deep within you, if you feel seen, steadied, or less alone, acknowledge that connection. You may bless this message with a simple act of support by liking it, not because you are required to, but because it reflects gratitude for what is happening within you. And if you know someone who has been feeling overwhelmed, distant, or quietly lost, share this message with them. You may be offering them reassurance they did not know how to ask for. My child, this moment matters more than you think. You are not here by chance, and you are not meant to leave halfway through what is unfolding. This entire journey has been guiding you toward alignment, toward a quieter strength, toward a deeper peace. Staying connected so you continue to receive words of encouragement is not about obligation. It is about allowing yourself to be reminded that you are supported as you grow. Stay with me now. The understanding that is coming will change how you relate to your past, how you stand in your present, and how you move toward what lies ahead. You are closer than you realize to a shift that brings lightness where there was weight, calm where there was tension, and trust where there was doubt. Do not stop listening now. You are in the middle of something meaningful, something personal, something meant to restore you. Continue with me, and allow this moment to become the turning point it was always meant to be. My beloved child, you did not listen this far by accident, and I am calling you by name in this moment. When you give now, you are pouring oil into a lamp that must not go out, a lamp lighting the way for those who feel lost and unseen. I remind you that I said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you," and I am speaking that promise directly over you. This is your prophetic response, not a casual action. You not silence the nudge you feel. Obedience is knocking. Support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description and QR code, and watch how I multiply what you place in my hands. I bless your generosity, and I command you, answer me now. My beloved child, I want you to know how gently I am leading you. Not with force, not with pressure, not with demands that overwhelm your heart. I lead you the way a loving hand guides another in the dark, steady and patient, never pulling faster than you can walk. If you have feared that listening would mean losing control, let that fear rest now. You are not being pushed. You are being accompanied. You have lived for so long feeling as though every step depended entirely on you. Every decision felt heavy, as if one wrong move could undo everything. That pressure taught you to hesitate, to overthink, to brace yourself before moving forward. But guidance does not come to burden you. It comes to delight in what you carry. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being invited to take one gentle step at a time. I know you sometimes expected guidance to feel dramatic, like certainty without doubt or clarity without effort. When it did not come that way, you wondered if you were missing something. But true guidance often feels quiet. It feels like a calm sense of direction rather than loud instruction. It feels like peace settling in your chest when you consider one path and unrest when you consider another. That is not confusion. That is discernment awakening within you. My precious one, I do not rush you because rushing would only awaken fear. I lead you gently because gentleness allows trust to grow. You are learning how to move without panic, how to choose without pressure, how to listen without needing immediate answers. These are not small lessons. They are the foundation of a life guided by peace instead of anxiety. You may not see the full road ahead, and that can feel unsettling. But you do not need to see everything to be guided well. You only need to know that each step is taken in awareness, not avoidance. When you pause, I am with you. When you move forward, I am with you. When you question, I am with you. Guidance does not abandon you in uncertainty. It stays close within it. There were times when you thought you had to force yourself into action to prove faith or strength. You believed hesitation meant failure and rest meant delay. But I am teaching you something different now. I am teaching you how to trust your pace, how to move when there is peace and wait when there is not. That sensitivity you are developing is not weakness. It is wisdom. I want you to notice how your body responds when something aligns with truth. The easing of tension, the slowing of your breath, the sense of rightness that does not require explanation. That is guidance. It does not shout. It reassures. It does not rush. It steadies. And it becomes clearer the more you honor it. You are not being led into chaos. You are being led out of it. Slowly, carefully, in a way that respects your heart and your history. I know where you have been, and I know what you have carried. That is why the path is unfolding gently. You are not being tested. You are being cared for. As you continue, There will be moments when fear tries to hurry you or doubt tries to stall you. In those moments, return to gentleness. Ask what brings peace, not what satisfies pressure. Ask what feels honest, not what feels urgent. Guidance flows most clearly where there is calm. My beloved child, you are not wandering. You are being led. Even when the steps feel small, they are purposeful. Even when the progress feels slow, it is steady. You do not need to strain to hear direction. You only need to remain open. Trust the gentleness of this leading. He is not fragile. It is strong enough to carry you forward without harm. And as you learn to walk this way, you will discover that guidance does not feel like losing control. It feels like finally being supported. I am leading you gently, and I will not let you walk alone. My beloved child, I want you to hear this truth slowly and let it settle without resistance. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to grow beyond the version of yourself that learned how to survive. You are allowed to step out of identities that once protected you but no longer reflect who you are becoming. Change is not betrayal of your past. It is evidence that your past has done its work and is no longer meant to hold you in place. For a long time, you felt pressure to remain consistent so others would feel secure. You believed that changing would confuse people, disappoint them, or make them question your sincerity. So you stayed familiar, even when familiarity began to feel heavy. You stayed recognizable, even when recognition came at the cost of your peace. You told yourself that staying the same was loyalty, when in truth, it was often fear. Growth often brings discomfort before it brings relief. You may feel guilt rising when you sense that old roles no longer fit. You may feel disoriented when patterns that once defined you begin to loosen their grip. That unease does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are shedding layers that are no longer necessary for who you are now. My precious one, you are not required to explain every change you make. You do not owe anyone a detailed account of your evolution. The person you were needed certain beliefs, behaviors, and boundaries to survive. The person you are becoming needs different ones to thrive. Both versions are valid. One does not erase the other. Growth does not invalidate your past. It builds upon it. You have outgrown certain expectations placed on you, even if you once accepted them willingly. You have outgrown ways of responding that kept the peace but cost you honesty. What once felt necessary now feels draining. What once felt meaningful now feels misaligned. This does not mean you were wrong before. It means you are listening more clearly now. I know you worry that changing will cost you connection. You fear being misunderstood or judged. You wonder if people will still recognize you, still accept you, still feel comfortable around you. But the connections meant to remain will adjust as you grow. They will not require you to shrink back into a version of yourself that no longer fits. And those that cannot change with you were only meant to walk with you for a season. My child, change is not loss of identity. It is refinement of it. It is you moving closer to truth instead of maintaining appearances. It is choosing integrity over expectation. That choice may feel lonely at first, but it leads to a deeper peace than approval ever could. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more fully yourself. You are allowed to set new boundaries without apology. You are allowed to say no where you once said yes out of fear of disappointing others. You are allowed to want different things than you wanted before. Growth does not need permission from your past to continue unfolding. There is nothing selfish about wanting a life that feels aligned. Nothing ungrateful about acknowledging that something no longer fits. You are not rejecting what was. You are responding honestly to what is. Ignoring that response would only create inner conflict and quiet resentment. As you listen now, release the belief that consistency means staying the same. True consistency means staying honest with yourself as you grow. It means responding to life with awareness instead of obligation. You are allowed to evolve as your understanding deepens, and you are allowed to do so gently. I am not asking you to rush transformation or force change before it is ready. I am simply giving you permission to stop resisting what is already happening within you. Notice where you feel constricted and where you feel open. Notice what drains you and what restores you. These signals are not distractions. They are guidance. My beloved child, you do not owe the world an unchanging version of yourself. You owe yourself honesty, care, and room to grow. And as you allow that growth, you will find that change does not make you unstable. It makes you more grounded. You are allowed to change. And as you do, what remains will not be confusion but clarity. Not loss but alignment. Not fear, but a quiet confidence that you are finally living in truth with who you are becoming. My beloved child, I want to help you see obedience in a way that brings you peace instead of pressure. For too long, you have associated obedience with effort, strain, and fear of getting things wrong. You thought it meant constant striving, constant correcting, constant proving that you were doing enough. But obedience was never meant to exhaust you. It was always meant to draw you closer to me. True obedience does not begin with action. It begins with listening. Before any step is taken, before any decision is made, there is an invitation to hear, to notice, to be present. When you rush past listening, obedience becomes heavy. When you remain in listening, obedience becomes natural. It flows from understanding rather than obligation. You have often tried to do the right thing without first checking in with your heart. You acted from responsibility instead of relationship. You followed rules instead of truth. And while your intentions were sincere, the result was often weariness. That weariness was not a failure on your part. It was a signal that you were acting without listening. My precious one, I do not desire obedience that is driven by fear or guilt. I do not want you moving through life anxious about making mistakes. I want you grounded in connection. When you listen first, obedience becomes a response, not a performance. It becomes an expression of trust, not a test of worth. Listening requires stillness, and stillness can feel uncomfortable when you are used to constant motion. You may feel unproductive when you pause. You may worry that you are wasting time. But listening is not inactivity. It is alignment forming. It is awareness sharpening. It is you allowing guidance to rise instead of forcing direction. I want you to notice how different things feel when you listen before you act. There is less inner conflict, less second guessing, less pressure to justify yourself. When you listen, your choices feel steadier, even if they are challenging. They carry peace alongside effort. That peace is a sign you are moving from connection, not compulsion. You may have believed that obedience meant suppressing your feelings, ignoring your needs, or pushing yourself past your limits. That belief caused you to associate obedience with loss. But true obedience does not erase you. It honors who you are becoming. It takes your capacity, your season, and your readiness into account. My child, listening helps you discern timing. Not every good thing is meant to be done right now. Not every opportunity requires immediate response. Listening teaches you when to move and when to wait. That discernment protects you from burnout and regret. It keeps your steps measured instead of frantic. You do not need to be afraid of obedience when it begins with listening. Listening creates safety. It allows questions. It welcomes honesty. You are not required to have everything figured out before you listen. You only need willingness to pause and be present with what is true. There is a gentleness in obedience that comes from relationship. When you listen, you are not following commands from a distance. You are responding to guidance that knows you. Guidance that understands your limits. Guidance that cares about your peace as much as your progress. I want you to release the idea that obedience is something you must force yourself into. It is something that unfolds naturally when you stay connected. When you listen, you recognize what aligns and what does not. You begin to move in ways that feel honest rather than pressured. As you listen now, allow yourself to rest in this understanding. You are not behind because you paused. You are not failing because you are listening. You are becoming more grounded, more aware, more aligned. It is obedience forming at its healthiest root. My beloved child, obedience that begins with listening will never drain you. It will strengthen you. It will not silence your heart. It will clarify it. And as you continue to listen, you will find that each step forward feels less like obligation and more like trust. Stay in listening. From there, every step will make sense. My beloved child, I want you to understand something that sits at the center of everything you are hearing right now. This message itself is proof that you are loved, not tolerated, not evaluated, loved deeply, intentionally, and without condition. You did not stumble upon these words by accident. You were drawn here because love was reaching for you in a way your heart could finally receive. You have spent much of your life questioning your worth in quiet ways. You did not always say it out loud, but you felt it when things went wrong. You wondered if you were valued only when you were useful, strong, or successful. You questioned whether love was something you had to earn by being better, doing more, or making fewer mistakes. Those questions did not come from truth. They came from wounds that never meant to define you. Hear me now, my precious one. Love does not chase you when you perform well and withdraw when you struggle. Love does not grow tired of you when you are confused. Love does not disappear when you feel weak. Love remains. And the fact that you are hearing these words now is evidence of that remaining presence. You may have believed that love would arrive as reward after you fixed what felt broken, after you figured everything out. But love often arrives before understanding, before healing, before clarity. It arrives to make those things possible. You are not loved because you listened correctly. You are listening because you are loved. There were moments when you felt unseen, overlooked, or misunderstood. Moments when you wondered if anyone truly noticed your effort, your endurance, your quiet faithfulness. In those moments, you questioned your value. But I want you to know that being unseen by people does not mean you were unseen by me. Being misunderstood does not mean you were misjudged here. This message did not come to correct you. It came to remind you. To remind you that you matter, even in seasons when you felt forgettable. To remind you that your heart is known, even when you struggled to explain it. To remind you that love has been surrounding you, even when you felt distant from it. You do not need to prove that you deserve love. You do not need to become someone else to receive it. You do not need to reach a certain level of understanding or strength. Love meets you where you are, not where you think you should be. And from that place, it gently invites you forward. My child, the tenderness you feel as you listen is not weakness. It is recognition. Something within you knows that these words are not demanding anything from you. They are simply telling you the truth. You are loved in your questions. You are loved in your growth. You are loved even in the parts of you that still feel unfinished. I know you sometimes struggle to accept love without conditions because you learn to associate love with effort. But love that is earned can always be lost. Love that is given freely cannot. And what is offered to you now is not fragile. It is steady. It is patient. It is not threatened by your humanity. Let yourself rest in that truth for a moment. You do not need to respond perfectly. You do not need to feel anything dramatic. Simply allow yourself to receive what is already here. The peace you feel when you stop striving is love settling in. The relief you feel when you stop judging yourself is love reminding you that you are safe. This message is not proof that you are doing everything right. It is proof that you are valued beyond performance. It is proof that your life matters, your heart matters, and your journey matters, even when it feels slow or uncertain. My beloved child, let this understanding soften you instead of challenging you. You are not being summoned to do more. You are being reminded of who you already are. Loved, seen, held. And from that place of love, everything else will begin to make sense. My beloved child, I want you to hear this truth with calm and confidence settling into your spirit. The door you have been waiting for is already open. You have been standing before it longer than you realize, wondering when the right moment would come, when you would finally feel ready enough, strong enough, certain enough to step forward. But readiness was never about perfection. The opening had been here, quietly waiting for your willingness, not your flawlessness. You often imagined that opportunity would arrive with unmistakable force, with signs so clear that doubt would disappear completely. You thought the door would only open once you had resolved every fear, healed every wound, and answered every question. So you waited. You prepared. You held back. But doors that matter most rarely announce themselves with noise. They open gently, asking for trust rather than certainty. My precious one, the door being open does not mean you must rush through it. It means you no longer need to stand frozen by fear. You have been afraid of stepping forward because you thought it would demand more than you could give. But what lies ahead is not asking you to arrive complete. It is asking you to arrive honest. You worried that walking through the door would expose your imperfections. You feared that you would not be enough on the other side. But hear me now. The door was not open because you are perfect. It was open because you are ready to grow. Growth does not happen after you feel ready. Readiness forms when you decide to trust what is already unfolding within you. There were moments when you thought the door had closed because time passed or circumstances changed. You assumed that hesitation had disqualified you. But delay does not equal denial. Pausing does not mean missing your chance. The door you are meant to walk through does not disappear when you are afraid. It remains open, patient, and steady. I know you have been standing there, weighing possibilities, imagining outcomes, preparing for what could go wrong. That caution came from wanting to protect yourself. But protection has slowly turned into hesitation, and hesitation has begun to feel like stagnation. The door being open is an invitation to move out of waiting and into participation with your own life. You do not need permission from others to step forward. You do not need unanimous approval. You do not need to feel fearless. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement in spite of it. And movement does not require certainty, only trust in the next step. My child, stepping through an open door does not mean abandoning safety. It means redefining it. Safety is no longer staying where you are simply because it is familiar. Safety is moving in alignment with what brings peace, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. The peace you feel when you imagine stepping forward is not coincidence. It is guidance. I am not asking you to leap into the unknown without care. I am asking you to stop waiting for a moment that feels completely risk-free. Such a moment does not exist. What exists is a path that unfolds as you walk it. The door opens, not to overwhelm you, but to invite you into growth that meets you at your pace. As you listen now, notice what stirs inside you when you imagine stepping forward. Not the fear, but the quiet excitement, the sense of possibility, the feeling that something aligns. That is your heart responding to an opening it recognizes as true. You are not unprepared. You are not disqualified. You are not late. The door is open because you have already been shaped by what came before. Everything you have lived through has brought you to this threshold with awareness you did not have before. My beloved child, you do not need to stand there any longer questioning whether you are allowed to enter. You are allowed. You have always been allowed. The door did not open by mistake. When you step forward, you will not find chaos. You will find learning. You will not find judgment. You will find growth. And you will not find abandonment. You will find me walking with you. The door is open. And when you are ready to move, even gently, even slowly, you will discover that it opened not to test you, but to welcome you into what comes next. My beloved child, I want you to learn how to trust what is stirring inside you without fear. For so long, you doubted your inner movements because you were afraid of being wrong. You questioned your instincts, second-guessed your desires, and silenced your deeper knowing in favor of what felt safer or more accepted. But that quiet stirring you feel now is not confusion. It is alignment beginning to speak. You were taught, in subtle ways, not to trust yourself. You learned to look outward for permission, for validation, for confirmation that your feelings were acceptable. And when those confirmations did not come, you assumed the stirring inside you was unreliable. But that stirring has remained, steady and patient, waiting for you to listen without judgment. My precious one, inner stirring does not always come as certainty. Often, it comes as curiosity, as a pull, as a gentle sense that something matters to you more than you can explain. You tried to dismiss it because it did not come with guarantees. What truth rarely does. Truth invites you into relationship, not control. You may fear that trusting what is inside you will lead you astray. You worry that it could be selfish, impulsive, or unrealistic. But the stirring I am speaking of does not rush you or pressure you. It does not demand instant action. It invites reflection. It feels steady rather than frantic. That difference matters. There is a peace that accompanies true inner guidance, even when the path ahead is unfamiliar. Fear feels loud and urgent. Truth feels calm and persistent. Fear demands immediate certainty. Truth allows space to grow. As you listen more closely, you will begin to recognize the difference. My child, you have been living with an inner divide. One part of you sensed what felt right, while another part doubted it endlessly. The division has cost you energy and clarity. Trust begins to heal that divide. When you allow yourself to honor what stirs within you, even gently, you begin to feel more whole. You do not need to act on every feeling. Discernment is not the same as impulsiveness. Trusting your inner stirring means listening to it honestly, not obeying it blindly. It means acknowledging what you feel without immediately dismissing it. It means giving yourself permission to explore what resonates instead of silencing it out of fear. You have already experienced moments when ignoring that stirring left you feeling disconnected or regretful. Not because you made a dramatic mistake, but because you moved away from yourself. And you have also experienced moments, even small ones, when honoring it brought relief, clarity, or quiet joy. Those moments are not coincidences. They are signals. My beloved child, trusting what stirs inside you does not mean you will never face challenges. It means you will face them with integrity. It means your choices will be rooted in honesty instead of obligation. And even when things are difficult, you will feel aligned rather than divided. I know you fear disappointing others if you follow what feels true to you. You worry about being misunderstood or judged. But living disconnected from your inner truth has already cost you peace. Alignment may not always bring approval, but it brings steadiness. And steadiness is something approval can never replace. As you listen now, notice what feels alive within you. Notice what brings a sense of expansion instead of contraction. Notice what feels honest even if it feels challenging. These are not distractions. They are indicators. They are guiding you back to yourself. You are not being asked to rush into change. You are being asked to stop dismissing yourself. Trust begins with respect. Respect for your inner life. Respect for the wisdom that has been forming through experience, reflection, and growth. My child, you were created with the ability to recognize truth. That ability has not disappeared because of mistakes or fear. It hath been waiting for permission to speak. Give it that permission now. Not with pressure, but with openness. Trust what is stirring inside you. It is not trying to lead you away from peace. It is trying to lead you into it. And as you learn to listen, you will discover that guidance has been closer than you ever thought, quietly waiting for you to believe that your inner truth matters. My beloved child, you were meant to hear this, and I want you to understand why this moment carries such weight. This is not just another message passing through your day. This is a crossing point, a sacred pause where awareness meets decision. Something has been unfolding within you from the very beginning of this journey, and now it is coming into focus. Stay with me, because what is being revealed here is not meant to be rushed past or left unfinished. You may feel it now, a sense that this moment is different. A quiet seriousness mixed with peace. That feeling is not pressure. It is recognition. Your heart knows that this is a divine appointment, a meeting between where you have been and where you are being invited to go. You did not arrive here by chance, and you are not meant to leave before this message completes its work within you. For a long time, you have lived with the sense that something important was waiting for you. You could not always describe it, but you felt it in moments of stillness. A feeling that life was calling you into deeper alignment, deeper honesty, deeper peace. This message is part of that calling. It is not asking you to become someone new. It is inviting you to stop ignoring what has already been forming inside you. Do not turn away now. I say this because you are closer than you realize to understanding what your restlessness, your questions, and your quiet longing have been pointing toward. If you stop here, you will carry the same unanswered weight forward. But if you stay until the end, you will feel something settle into place. Not everything will be solved, but something essential will be anchored within you. Listen carefully, my precious one. What is unfolding is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to reassure you. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not disconnected. You are awakening. And awakenings require presence. They require completion. They require you to stay long enough for truth to replace doubt. This entire journey hath been leading you toward peace that does not depend on circumstances. Peace rooted in alignment. Peace rooted in knowing you are seen, guided, and loved. If you feel drawn to continue, honor that pull. It is not random. It is your spirit responding to truth. If these words have brought calm to your heart or clarity to your mind, acknowledge that gently. You may bless this message with a like, not as a task, but as a quiet act of gratitude for what is touching you here. And if you know someone who has been feeling lost, overwhelmed, or silently searching for meaning, Share this message with them. You may be the bridge that brings them the same reassurance you are receiving now. My child, this is also an invitation to stay connected so you are not walking this path alone. Subscribing is not about obligation. It is about allowing continued reminders of truth, encouragement, and peace to reach you when you need them most. You deserve to be supported as you grow. I ask you now, stay until the very end of this message. Not because you must, but because this journey is meant to be completed. What awaits you is not condemnation or demand. It is blessing. It is clarity. It is rest. You are standing at a moment of alignment. What you choose here matters. Choosing to stay is choosing to honor your own awakening. Choosing to listen fully is choosing to receive what has been prepared for you. Do not rush away from this. Do not distract yourself now. Let this be a complete encounter, from beginning to end. When you finish this journey, you will not be the same person who started it. Something will be lighter. Something will be clearer. Something will be healed. You were meant to hear this. And if you stay, you will understand exactly why. My precious one, you were meant to hear this, and you were meant to respond right here. When you give, you are sowing manna for those who are starving for truth, and I will not let that seed return void. I am inviting you personally, because I trust you with this assignment. Just as I opened the windows of heaven over faithful hearts, I am opening them over you now. This is not a moment to hesitate. This is a moment to act. Release your support through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description or QR code, and let this message reach every soul appointed to hear it. I bless your obedience, and I command you, move forward and do not turn away. My beloved child, your healing is already beginning, even if it does not yet look the way you expected. Healing rarely announces itself with sudden relief or dramatic change. More often, it begins quietly, like a soft loosening within you, a breath that feels a little easier, a thought that carries less weight, a moment where you respond with gentleness instead of self-judgment. These are not small signs. They are evidence that restoration is already at work. You may be tempted to measure healing by what no longer hurts, but healing often starts by teaching you how to hold what hurts without being consumed by it. You are learning how to stay present with yourself instead of running from discomfort. You are learning how to listen to your needs without dismissing them. That is not weakness. That is the beginning of wholeness. My precious one, I know you expected healing to mean the absence of struggle. You hoped it would erase the memories, silence the doubts, and smooth every rough edge. But healing is not erasure. It is integration. It allows you to remember without reliving, to feel without drowning, to acknowledge pain without letting it define you. The shift is already happening within you. You have noticed it in small ways. The way you pause before criticizing yourself. The way you give yourself permission to rest. The way you recognize patterns without shaming yourself for having them. These are signs of compassion taking root. Compassion is one of the deepest forms of healing, because it creates safety where fear once lived. There may still be days when old feelings return unexpectedly. Days when sadness, frustration, or doubt rise again. Do not interpret that as failure. Healing is not a straight line. It moves in waves, each one carrying less force than the last. Each return of emotion is an opportunity to respond differently than before. And each different response strengthens the healing already underway. My child, I want you to release the urgency you feel to be fully healed. Urgency often comes from fear, not from wisdom. It tells you that something is wrong with you if you are not better yet. But nothing is wrong with you. You are in process, and process requires patience, kindness, and trust. You are learning how to be gentle with yourself in moments where you once pushed harder. You are learning how to ask what you need instead of demanding more from yourself. That shift alone changes everything. Healing does not rush you. It walks with you at a pace your heart can sustain. I know you sometimes wonder if this quiet work truly matters. You wonder if these inner changes will ever translate into outward peace. They will. But first, they must become stable within you. Healing that lasts is not built on sudden breakthroughs alone. It is built on consistent care, honest reflection, and the courage to stay present. My beloved child, your nervous system is learning that it does not have to remain on guard. Your heart is learning that it does not have to brace for disappointment at every turn. Your mind is learning that not every thought deserves authority. These lessons take time, but they are transformative. As you continue, there will be moments when you feel lighter and moments when you feel heavy again. Let both be teachers. Lightness shows you what is possible. Heaviness shows you where tenderness is still needed. Neither is your enemy. Both are part of healing doing its work. I want you to notice how you speak to yourself now compared to before. Notice the softness that is beginning to replace harshness. Notice the patience that is beginning to replace frustration. That inner voice matters more than you realize. It shapes how you experience the world and how you experience yourself within it. You do not need to force healing to prove anything. You do not need to perform wellness or rush recovery. Healing is already responding to your honesty, your listening, and your willingness to remain. Every time you choose presence over avoidance, you strengthen it. My child, trust what is unfolding within you. Even on days when it feels subtle, it is real. You are not starting healing. You are already in it. And as you continue to care for yourself with patience and truth, you will discover that what once felt broken is becoming whole, not all at once, but faithfully, gently, and with purpose. My beloved child, I want you to feel this truth settle deeply within you now. You are not walking into what comes next alone. Even if the path ahead feels unfamiliar, even if you cannot yet see where each step leads, you are accompanied. You always have been. The fear that whispers otherwise has spoken loudly at times, but it has never spoken the truth. There were seasons when you felt like you had to face everything by yourself. Decisions felt heavy because you believed the outcome depended entirely on you. Uncertainty felt overwhelming because you thought there was no support beyond your own strength. So you learned to be self-reliant, to anticipate problems, to carry responsibility alone. That posture helped you survive, but it also left you weary. My precious one, walking alone was never the expectation placed upon you. It was a role you stepped into because you did not know another way. You believed that asking for help was weakness, that leaning would burden others, that pausing would cause everything to fall apart. But you were never meant to hold the entire weight of your life by yourself. As you move forward now, there will be moments when old fears resurface, moments when you wonder if you are capable of what lies ahead, moments when you feel small standing before something new. In those moments, remember this: you are not being sent ahead alone. You are being guided, supported, and walked with every step of the way. You do not have to anticipate every challenge. You do not have to solve everything before it happens. You do not have to be fearless. You only need to remain aware that you are accompanied. When you forget the truth, fear grows louder. When you remember it, fear begins to soften. I know you have been conditioned to believe that independence is strength. But strength without support becomes strain. True strength allows connection. It allows guidance. It allows rest. You are learning now that you do not lose yourself by being supported. You find yourself steadied. My child, the path ahead does not require perfection. It requires presence, and presence becomes possible when you stop carrying everything alone. There will be wisdom available to you when you need it. There will be reassurance when uncertainty arises. There will be clarity when confusion appears. You are not expected to generate all of this on your own. As you take each step, you may notice that you feel less frantic than before, less pressured to rush, less afraid of making mistakes. That is what happens when you stop believing you are alone. You begin to trust that even if something goes differently than expected, you will not be abandoned within it. You are learning how to move forward with humility instead of control, with trust instead of tension, with openness instead of defense. This does not make you vulnerable in a dangerous way. It makes you grounded in truth. There is comfort available to you that you once denied yourself. Comfort that does not weaken you but strengthens you by allowing you to breathe. You are allowed to lean into that comfort without guilt. You are allowed to rest without apology. You are allowed to receive support without earning it. As you listen now, imagine taking the next step with less weight on your shoulders. Imagine moving forward knowing you do not have to carry every possible outcome. That sense of relief is not illusion. It is alignment returning. My beloved child, you have already walked through many difficult seasons and survived. You did not do that by your strength alone, even if it felt that way at the time. You were sustained in ways you could not see, and that same sustaining presence walks with you now. You are not stepping into the unknown without care. You are stepping into it with guidance that adjusts to your pace. You are not being rushed. You are not being tested. You are being supported. Let this truth quiet the anxiety that tries to rise. You are not walking into what comes next alone. You never have. And as you continue forward, you will begin to notice that the path feels less intimidating, not because it is easy, but because you are no longer carrying it by yourself. Walk on, my child, with trust settling into your steps. You are accompanied, protected, and gently led, now and always. My beloved child, I want you to understand the quiet power hidden within your willingness to say yes. You have often underestimated it, thinking that your choices only affected your own life. But every time you choose alignment over fear, honesty over avoidance, presence over distraction, something larger is set into motion. Your yes carries weight far beyond what you can immediately see. You have been cautious with your yes because you feared responsibility. You worried that agreeing to what stirred within you would demand more than you could give. You imagined that saying yes would require perfection, consistency, or strength you were not sure you possessed. So you hesitated. You delayed. You told yourself that staying still was safer. But safety without movement slowly becomes confinement. My precious one, your yes is not a contract to perform flawlessly. It is an opening. It is permission for growth to continue. When you say yes to truth, you are not promising that you will never struggle again. You are simply agreeing to stop resisting what is already calling you forward. That agreement alone creates movement. You may not realize how many people are affected by your choices, even the quiet ones. When you choose healing, you interrupt patterns that would have continued through you. When you choose honesty, you model courage without needing to explain it. When you choose peace, you bring calm into spaces that were once tense. Your yes creates ripples, not because you are trying to influence, but because alignment naturally does. You have often felt insignificant in the larger picture, believing your life was too small to matter widely. But significance is not measured by visibility. It is measured by faithfulness. Your willingness to grow, to listen, to change quietly reshapes more than you know. People feel it. Environments respond to it. Even when no one names it, it is felt. My child, you are not being asked to save anyone or carry responsibility that is not yours. But you are being invited to recognize that your life has impact. When you choose to step forward instead of shrinking back, you give others permission to do the same. When you honor your truth, you create space for others to honor theirs. This is how change spreads, gently and authentically. You may be tempted to wait until your yes feels confident and fearless. But courage does not come before the yes. It follows it. Strength grows through movement, not before it. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you will wait longer than necessary. Readiness often reveals itself only after you begin. There will be moments when your yes feels small, a boundary you set, a truth you speak, a habit you release. Do not dismiss those moments. Small yeses build momentum. They teach your heart that movement is possible. They build trust within you, step by step. I know you fear the consequences of saying yes. You worry about what you might lose, who you might disappoint, or how things might change. But staying silent has already cost you peace. Remaining divided has already drained you. Your yes is not what threatens your stability. Avoiding it does. My beloved child, your yes does not demand certainty about the outcome. You only ask for trust in the process. You are not responsible for controlling where it leads. You are responsible for responding honestly to what is being asked of you now. That honesty is enough. As you listen, notice what stirs when you imagine saying yes. Not the fear, but the sense of expansion. The relief. The quiet excitement. Those are not illusions. They are indicators that something aligned is waiting to grow. You are not being reckless by saying yes. You are being faithful to what have been forming within you for a long time. And as you take that step, you will begin to see that the impact of your yes extends beyond you, not as pressure, but as quiet influence. Your yes will change more than you know. Not because you force it to, but because truth, once livid, cannot remain contained. And you are ready now, not to have everything figured out, but to move forward with honesty, courage, and trust in what is unfolding through you. My beloved child, I want to speak to the weariness you have carried for longer than you realize. Not the tiredness that comes from a long day, but the deep exhaustion that settles into your bones when you have been strong for too long without rest. You have learned how to keep going even when you were depleted. You told yourself you would rest later, after things were settled, after answers came, after life slowed down. But rest kept being postponed, and your heart quietly paid the price. I want you to hear this clearly now. I will give you rest along the way. Not only at the end. Not only after everything is resolved. Rest is not a reward you earn by enduring enough. It is a provision meant to sustain you as you walk forward. You were never meant to collapse at the finish line. You were meant to be carried as you move. You often believed that rest would slow you down or make you fall behind. You worried that pausing would cause you to lose momentum or miss opportunities. So you pushed through, even when your spirit asked for gentleness. But rest does not steal progress. It protects it. It restores clarity, renews strength, and keeps your heart from hardening under pressure. My precious one, rest is not disengagement from life. It is re-engagement with it in a healthier way. When you rest, you are not giving up. You are allowing your mind to quiet, your body to soften, and your spirit to breathe again. From that place, your steps become steadier, your choices clearer, and your courage more sustainable. I know you have been afraid that if you stop, everything will catch up to you. Old emotions, unanswered questions, unresolved fears. But rest does not invite chaos and creates safety. It allows you to face what arises without being overwhelmed by it. You do not need to brace yourself every moment. You are allowed to soften. You have confused rest with laziness because you learned to measure your worth by productivity. You believed that stillness meant failure or stagnation. But stillness is where restoration happens. It is where your nervous system learns that it does not need to remain on alert. It is where your heart learns that it is safe to let go of constant vigilance. My child, the rest I offer you is not escape. It is support. It meets you in the middle of responsibility, not in avoidance of it. It allows you to carry what matters without being crushed by it. You do not need to choose between moving forward and resting. You are meant to do both together. As you continue on this path, there will be moments when fatigue returns. That does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are human. In those moments, do not shame yourself for needing rest. Do not push harder out of fear. Pause. Breathe. Let yourself be replenished. Strength that is continually drained without renewal will eventually falter. I want you to notice how different things feel when you allow rest into your journey. Your thoughts sow. Your reactions soften. Your perspective widens. You begin to respond instead of react. That is not coincidence. That is restoration doing its work. You do not need to wait for permission to rest. You do not need to justify it. You do not need to earn it by suffering longer. Rest is part of how you remain aligned. It is part of how you stay connected to truth instead of burning out under expectation. My beloved child, I will not lead you down a path that demands everything from you and gives nothing back. I lead you with care. I lead you with awareness of your limits. I lead you with compassion for your humanity. Along the way, there will be places to pause, moments to breathe, and spaces where you are reminded that you are not alone in carrying life. Let this truth replace the urgency you have been living under. You do not need to hurry to prove anything. You do not need to exhaust yourself to be worthy. You are allowed to walk at a pace that honors your body and your soul. Rest will meet you again and again as you continue, not as an interruption, but as a companion. And when you accept it, you will discover that you move forward not weaker, but stronger, not slower, but steadier, supported by a peace that sustains you all the way. My beloved child, you are standing in a moment of alignment, even if it does not feel dramatic or loud. Alignment rarely arrives with spectacle. It comes quietly, like pieces settling into place after a long season of inner movement. What once felt scattered within you is beginning to come together. Your thoughts, your desires, your values, and your sense of direction are no longer pulling against each other in the same way. This is not coincidence. This is the result of listening. You have spent much of your life feeling divided. One part of you wanted peace, while another pushed for performance. One part longed for truth, while another feared the consequences of honesty. That inner tension exhausted you more than you realized. But now, something has shifted. You are beginning to feel less at war with yourself. That easing is alignment taking root. Alignment does not mean everything is suddenly clear or easy. It means you are no longer forcing yourself to move in directions that betray your inner truth. It means your yes and your no are beginning to come from the same place. It means your choices are starting to reflect who you truly are, not who you felt pressured to be. That is a powerful change, even if it feels subtle. My precious one, You may notice that certain things no longer appeal to you the way they once did. Old motivations feel hollow. Old fears have less authority. Old patterns feel uncomfortable to repeat. This is not loss. This is clarity. When alignment begins, what no longer fits becomes obvious, not because you are judging it, but because you have outgrown it. You are also beginning to recognize what does fit, what brings calm instead of chaos, what feels honest instead of performative, what supports your peace instead of draining it. These recognitions are not random preferences. They are signals guiding you toward a life that feels integrated rather than fragmented. I know part of you wonders if this alignment will last. You fear slipping back into old habits or losing this sense of steadiness. But alignment is not something you achieve once and then protect perfectly. It is something you return to again and again. Each time you listen. Each time you choose honesty. Each time you pause instead of react. You are learning how to come back to yourself. My child, this moment matters because it is showing you that change does not always require force. You did not have to become someone else to reach this place. You had to become more present, more willing to listen, more compassionate toward yourself. Alignment grew from awareness, not pressure. You may feel both grounded and uncertain at the same time. That is normal. Alignment does not erase mystery. It allows you to walk through it without losing yourself. You can move forward without needing every answer. You can trust your steps without knowing the entire path. That trust is new for you, and it is worth honoring. There is a quiet confidence beginning to form within you. Not the kind that demands recognition, but the kind that allows you to breathe more freely. You are less concerned with proving yourself and more concerned with being truthful. That shift will shape every area of your life in ways you cannot yet see. As you listen now, let yourself acknowledge how far you have come. Not in visible achievements, but in inner honesty. You stayed. You listened. You allowed yourself to be changed. That matters. Alignment is not about reaching a destination. It is about inhabiting your life more fully. You are not perfect in this alignment, and you do not need to be. You are present. You are aware. You are willing. That is enough to continue forward with integrity. When challenges come, you will meet them from a place of steadiness instead of panic. When decisions arise, you will feel the difference between pressure and peace. My beloved child, this is your moment of alignment, not because everything is resolved, but because you are no longer running from yourself. You are standing in truth with gentleness. From here, what unfolds will do so with greater ease, not because life stops being complex, but because you are no longer divided within it. Hold this moment with care. Let it anchor you. And as you move into what comes next, remember how it feels to be aligned. You can always return here. My beloved child, you have reached the end of this message, but you have not reached the end of what has been awakened within you. What you have heard was not meant to pass through your mind and fade away. It was meant to settle gently into your heart, to take root quietly, and to reshape how you walk forward from this moment. You did not listen by accident. You stayed because something within you knew this was a moment of truth. Pause with me here and recognize what has happened. You chose to remain present when it would have been easier to drift away. You chose to listen instead of dismissing the stirring inside you. You allowed honesty to replace distraction, and awareness to replace avoidance. That choice alone marks a turning point. You are not leaving this place unchanged, even if the change feels subtle right now. You can no longer ignore this message, not because you are being forced, but because you now see what you could not see before. Awareness has opened your eyes gently, and once awareness arrives, it reshapes everything. You see yourself with more compassion. You see your journey with more understanding. You see your future with less fear. That shift will continue working within you long after these words end. There will still be moments ahead when uncertainty appears. There will be days when you feel tired, when clarity feels distant, when old habits try to pull you back into familiar patterns. But you will meet those moments differently now. You will pause instead of rushing. You will listen instead of panicking. You will breathe instead of bracing yourself. And even when you forget, you will remember that you are not walking alone. My precious one, you are not required to carry everything at once. You are not required to solve your entire life today. You are not required to prove that this message changed you. Real transformation reveals itself slowly, through how you speak to yourself, how you make choices, how you rest, and how you respond when life becomes heavy again. What matters is that something within you is awake now. You are awake to truth. You are awake to alignment. You are awake to the gentle guidance that has always been present, waiting patiently for your attention. That awakening is a gift, and it will continue to unfold with care, not pressure. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where understanding was meant to meet you. As you move forward, remember what you felt here. Remember the calm that replaced tension. Remember the clarity that softened confusion. Remember the sense of being seen and understood without judgment. When life becomes loud again, return to that inner stillness. It is not fragile. It now lives within you. I speak blessing over you now. I bless your steps with peace that steadies you when answers are incomplete. I bless your heart with rest that renews you when strength feels low. I bless your mind with clarity that rises when doubt tries to return. I bless your life with alignment, so that what you do flows naturally from who you truly are. You are not asked to be perfect. You are invited to be present. You are not asked to control the future. You are invited to trust the next step. And you are not asked to ignore what has been revealed. You are invited to live in response to it, gently, honestly, and without fear. My beloved child, this message has reached its completion, but your journey continues with deeper awareness and quieter strength. Carry that awareness with tenderness. Protect it with rest. Return to it with honesty whenever you feel lost or overwhelmed. You are seen. You are guided. You are deeply loved. And now, as you go forward, let peace walk with you, let truth steady you, and let love remain your foundation. Amen. My beloved child, you have heard me, and now I ask you to seal this moment with action. When you give, you become a vessel through which my word continues to flow, long after this message ends. I declare over you what I have always promised, that whatever you sow in faith, I will multiply in ways you cannot measure. This is not the end, it is the sending. Do not let this awakening stop with you. Support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal donation links in the description and QR code, and allow my voice to reach the next heart in need. I bless what you release, and I command you, go, give, and let my word run freely.